right, everybody. Welcome back to the Good Old Hockey Podcast. This is episode number 40, and we're back after a much-needed break for the boys. We had a lot. We did a lot this season. Season's over finally. I feel like it ended so quick too. It was such a long Stanley Cup final series, and then Galli and I went straight to Las Vegas, and pretty much right after. This playoffs ended on Monday night. We recorded Tuesday, put it out Wednesday, and Thursday we were on the road. So it was a quick turnaround, long weekend. So let's get into that weekend recap our experience in Las Vegas. We got to go the very first time for the NHL Draft. Galli, what did you think of it? Just the weekend as a whole, I guess.
Weekend as a whole was unbelievable. I mean, going to both the awards and the draft. I mean, the draft and the Sphere was pretty insane. I feel like the awards, I think the host did a really good job. What's his name?
I know who you're talking about.
Something Friend, I think.
Oh, Matt Friedman? I don't know.
Yeah, I think Matt Friend or something. I'm totally butchering his name. He did a really good job.
Yeah.
I feel like that was kind of run of show. Like every year is going to be kind of similar to that, but the Sphere was unbelievable. Like I feel like the NHL did such a good job with that. I feel like they should hold more events there. I know we were both talking what if they did a stadium series game there? That would be really sick.
Yeah.
But I mean that Sphere has so much potential. I think that's honestly one of the coolest venues in the whole world right now.
Yeah.
Whether it's a concert, whether you're seeing the NHL draft, I thought the weekend was amazing in that perspective. Vegas is kind of a shitty place.
Yeah, it really is.
Everything's expensive. You're paying $6 for a water.
Yep.
No water fountains either. So, and we didn't do too good on the tables, but yeah, man, it was a good. Yeah.
I mean, not that we did. Okay, we didn't do bad on the tables. I just don't think I had enough time. I gambled $50, and that's all I could because that's all I could afford. After fucking food prices in Vegas are crazy expensive. I was on the ride back home. I was deep in Reddit, just reading about Vegas back in the old days, just glorifying it. And they were saying that back in the 80s, like you get like housing or lodging was super cheap, free food, free buffets, everything like that. Drinks were flowing at you because they want you to spend your money gambling. And at the shows, they want you to spend your money at those things. They don't really care about food and all. Like that's not how they make their money. Nowadays, that's not the case. Like it's literally hotel itself was expensive, and then we got a deal, and it was still expensive for us. Food, I don't even want to talk about food. Food was $20 a person a meal. $20 a person a meal. Insane. Like In-N-Out was probably the only place that was affordable.
Yeah, shout out In-N-Out for that too.
Yeah, honestly only place that kept their prices the same. Everywhere else, they just all of a sudden, I don't know. But
dude, and my philosophy on it, I think it's a global city now, and that's why they can charge these prices because there's people coming from all around the globe, every single continent, and they're ready to spend bands because one, they're going to be gambling a lot.
Yeah,
but I mean, the American experience, everything is there, and it also sucks. Just like, I mean, walking around the strip when it's 110 degrees is pretty brutal.
That too. Yeah.
But I mean, we knew it was coming in Vegas. But
yeah, we did.
I mean, I feel like I don't really recommend it to too many places. Steve Aoki was cool. That was a cool way to end off. Drive home was brutal on Sunday.
Yeah, it was long. And I appreciate everyone give a round of applause to Galli. He drove there and back there 4 a.m. on Thursday. And, we made it in perfect time, went the speed limit the whole way. And we got there, shaved off a ton of time. And yeah, it was, overall, it was a great experience and really cool I feel like for both me and Galli to say that we're there for a hockey podcast was just something really cool to, we were tourists to begin with, but, we also had some ties to it. And it was really cool to experience that there, especially in the Sphere. That was the first time the Sphere ever did, what's it called? A live sporting event there, even though it wasn't really sports. But also, did you see Dana White trashing the NHL for the Sphere?
Yeah, I did.
Dana White, you bald fuck. I don't care what you can do with the UFC. Yeah, of course it's going to be cooler. It's the UFC. It's like live action fighting. This is an NHL draft. He was like, oh, this is like kids with crayons. Hey, Baldy, yeah, we know. We know you can probably do better with the UFC. Like,
I mean, I think it's similar. The draft is, I mean, not saying the draft is on the magnitude of a weigh-in, but like a
no.
weigh-in and a draft is like pretty similar. Like no one's fighting in it. Sure,
Yeah.
there's going to be some fireworks and drama, and Bennett Snecki gets picked third overall, and I mean, but yeah, I mean that was kind of outrageous. He runs his mouth about everything, which
He does,
he
though.
can.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, he
he's
can. He
extremely
very well can.
successful. But I
Yeah.
will say, I mean, a UFC match there, a lot of things there. I mean, the draft was cool because I mean, you have the biggest Jumbotron ever there.
Yeah.
But like a UFC fight, I mean, if you're in the nosebleeds, you can't see anything. Like, might as well watch it on TV at that point
Yeah.
because you're like way up there.
Yeah.
I think a concert would probably be the coolest experience there. But yeah, man, I mean, the Sphere was incredible. I mean, just the architecture of it, what it looks like
Mhm.
on the outside, what they do, all those motion graphics. I mean, I've dabbled around with motion graphics in my previous experiences and with this podcast a little bit, and it just blew me away. Like, holy
Yeah.
shit, I don't even know what they do. But
Yeah.
yeah,
At
big
one
shout
point
out
they
to the
had
Sphere.
all the players' faces up on the Sphere. It was just crazy to see like all these kids are gonna get drafted most likely.
Yeah.
And to see all them above, like it was just a lot of this stuff, which I wish we took more videos of. Could have made like an Instagram thing out of it. I didn't even think of that when we were there, but yeah, it was honestly really cool to be a part of and just see everything, and everything like that. But before we get into the drafts, we'll kind of back it up the weekend a bit. NHL Awards on Thursday, like you said, it's a TV show. Like I was telling people today about it, and I was like, honestly, like that's a TV thing. Obviously it's cool to be in person, but you could tell it was very like scripted, and you're watching a TV show get filmed, a live award show.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was kind of cool to see that, and we got to see all the players, some of them. We also saw the red carpet. There's like a red carpet thing, I guess you could say, but they were just walking in there.
Yeah,
but
I will. That's my one criticism of the Fontainebleau. Cool ballroom, cool venue, cool host. I thought they did an okay job with all of that. But get a damn red carpet, and please, like, there's people gambling and who are staying at the hotel walking through where the best NHL players are walking through.
yeah,
And I mean, obviously, you know when that's coming. And it was really cool. I mean, we saw Austin Matthews, we saw the Hughes brothers, we saw Kucherov, literally villain of the NHL, is my opinion on him now.
Yeah.
And I thought the coolest part about the whole red carpet was Martin Brodeur. That guy's such a class act. And to see him just stop and sign everyone's autographs and talk to people, take pictures with people. I mean, this guy's one of the best goalies of all time. For him to do that, it says a lot about his character. And I mean, you see these other superstars, which to be fair, it's a little bit different world that they're growing up and living in now, especially in the NHL. Kind of just blow past for the most part everyone.
Yeah. No,
but
people were like, who is that?
Yeah.
Remember that? Some of those guys, they were like, who is that guy? And we're like, Marty Brodeur.
Yeah, I know. Ridiculous. But another thing, I know I'm on a little bit of a rant right now, but another thing that kind of upset me and surprised me was people doing autographs. I was shocked to see some tactics that people were using to get autographs from some of these players. And I mean, there's people there with duffel bags of jerseys, and they would get a little girl.
They're just getting numbers though too.
Yeah,
it wasn't even like
girl basically to go out and get that signed, and it's like that's like so disheartening to see someone use a kid to get autographs. And I'm sure this is nothing new. I'm sure this has been happening for decades, probably. I mean, somewhat of a smart tactic from their standpoint, but it's like unethical. It's like what's going on here? Because they're turning around and making bands off those jerseys. So that was a little bit disheartening. That was my first time seeing that in action, and it's pretty.
I don't know. Did you hear this part when Marty Brodeur walked up? He was walking by. The guy who was there trying to get autographs was asking around what number Martin Brodeur was, and someone said it, and he pulled out one of his numbers, and handed the number to the kid. Like it wasn't even it wasn't a Martin Brodeur jersey. It was literally just a number in red that could go on a New Jersey Devils, or maybe it was a white number. I don't know. But all he's doing now is he's just going to take that number. What I forget which one he got signed, but he got that number signed. Now he's going to go put that on a Martin Brodeur jersey and go sell it to some fan. So yeah, it's wild what they do. Apparently they have Facebook groups in Vegas that find celebrities that they can get autographs of and resell things. So
I mean, it's just
wild.
weird. It's a weird situation for these NHL players
Yeah.
to get in. I mean, you see this little girl trying to get an autograph, and you're like, well, is she going to give this to her dad to sell, or is she going to cherish it? I mean, for the most part, I feel like there's a lot of kids that want autographs, and it's their favorite thing ever. But yeah, for us to see that firsthand, like unbelievable. Yeah. It was also pretty cool to see Austin Matthews acknowledge us and Zins. Shout out to Zins shortage in the country right now.
Yeah. If you didn't see that, go check out our Instagram. Plug it again at Good Old Hockey Podcast. We also got some street interviews done, which we'll be having out these next couple weeks. Yeah. Last week, as you know, we didn't have a podcast. We were taking a break for this great country's rest, 4th of July week. And we were just tired, long season. We brought episodes to you guys once a week, sometimes twice a week during the playoffs. So we need a little bit of a break, but we'll be back. We're going to be doing it bi-weekly too, moving forward with the offseason, just because it's a little slow. We got a lot today to cover. So yeah, strap in. It's going to be a good episode. A lot of stuff here, but moving forward, we're probably going to do some stuff, maybe some fan questions too, and try to get some interviews done as well. So just plan for the future. Had to plug that for a bit, but
what was
the
your
NHL awards? Yeah, go ahead.
What was your favorite part of the NHL awards part? I know we've talked about the red carpet a little bit.
Yeah, but I know we have. I mean, I think it was just cool to see all those players in one spot. Like how much greatness was in one room. Like I know. I mean, we could look down and see Nathan MacKinnon, Kucherov, the Hughes brothers, Hellebuyck, like all these goalies and Connor Bedard, all these players that were there that were just amazing. The Hughes brothers was cool to see all three of them walking together. Obviously, two of them were up for awards. One of them won. Jack was still there though, but it's kind of cool. Also, one thing I other noticed about the red carpet, since we're still talking about this, but we saw Cale Makar there, who wasn't up for anything, I don't think, unless maybe
he was up for the Norris.
Oh, he was. That's right.
Yeah.
I guess Jack then he was like kind of hiding behind everyone, like let his brothers kind of take the fame, and Quinn was signing everything, but Jack was kind of with his parents, and I thought that was pretty cool just to kind of share that experience with them and not he's not taking over all the attention, which he normally would, but super cool to see. But yeah, with the winners, let's look back on it because we did a prediction last episode, and also kind of looked at our preseason stuff. Obviously, Austin Matthews, we got that right. But the Hart, Nathan MacKinnon, first ever Hart, which was awesome. Galli called it. Well, you called it preseason too, huh?
Yeah, called it preseason. That he was going to get the MVP. So stoked on that. Definitely deserving. I mean, this guy's one of the best players in the league every year. I feel like a lot of other years he's been a finalist and just barely got edged out by McDavid or Kucherov or I mean, good for MacKinnon though. I think that was very proper. And then the Norris, I don't think either of us got this. I feel like I had mentioned it, but I didn't guess it preseason. But Quinn Hughes had an unbelievable year. Yeah. I mean, I mentioned that once he got that C, he was really going to step up. But holy shit, I didn't think he was going to win. The Norris stepping up, and I mean, he was. I don't think he's the best player defensively. I think he still has a lot of room for improvement on that. So do I, obviously. But I mean, he's such a good offensive defenseman, and he was one of the biggest reasons why the Canucks had the success they did this year. So that was pretty sweet. And the Vezina, Hellebuyck, I don't think either of us guessed that. I think maybe we might have mentioned it, but I said Jacob Markstrom, which was a horrible guess.
Unbiased pick, by the way.
Not even on the Flames anymore. But that was totally deserving. And we got to remember, this is for regular season. I know he kind of choked in the playoffs big time. I don't think he was above 900. save percentage, which isn't too good in the playoffs. But and then last but not least, Calder Trophy. Bedardski won that. We both called that one.
Yeah, I feel like we all could have seen that coming.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like Austin Matthews too. I mean, I feel like he's going to be the favorite going into it next year. I think it's the Maurice Richard is kind of his trophy to lose for the next 5 to 10 years. Honestly, I mean, he's the best goal scorer in the league right now. I mean, I would say Ovi is historically, but I think he's declined a little bit. We'll see. Maybe we have the return of Ovi next year. But yeah, that was really cool to see all their, awards getting handed out, and not only that, just their speeches too. Classic hockey guy speeches. Speaking of classic hockey guy, I know Matt Friend or whatever his name was. It's pretty damn funny. I can't believe he clowned on Kucherov. He was like doing a Russian accent. Kucherov was pissed, bro. So
did not love that.
That was pretty crazy.
Yeah. He I thought the awards as a whole were like they were done pretty well as Vegas could on a Thursday night. But enough about that. Any last thoughts? We'll talk about. I want to bring something up about the Calder, but I'll wait for next year because I think next year the Calder race is so stacked, and we can bring it up.
Yeah,
we'll talk about it later. But NHL Draft, back to that. Day of, we walked around the Sphere, got some good content, some interviews that I said will be coming out soon. You guys, if you haven't already, we got talked to the Philly sports guy who actually also told us that he'd be willing to come on to our podcast, which we'll definitely do these next couple months. And
he's a dope
we actually
dude.
got not kicked out, but we got kind of told to get the fuck out of there. On the Sphere, like on the grounds of the Sphere, because we were interviewing people. They told us to leave. We didn't have credentials. Yeah, it was whatever. So we had to go to the Strip, interview people there, which we got a lot of content. There was a lot of hockey fans. You could tell them pretty easily, all wearing hockey jerseys, so easy to spot there. But I mean,
that's another thing about Vegas is like how hot it is, and hockey jerseys. I mean, I'm sitting in a room right now. It's probably like 100 degrees. There's no AC in here. It's brutal. But like in Vegas, it was like 100 to 110 degrees, and like some fans are repping their jerseys, which like props to them. And a lot of fans just had their jerseys up above their shoulder. But it was kind of funny to see that like all over the Strip. And we definitely got some good interviews on there. Philly sports guy he was cool, dope, really dope, dude. I'm stoked to have him back on here. We'll ask him some juicy questions about Philly sports.
You also gave Nux to Ryan Smith, the owner Utah Hockey Club.
Oh,
who you now hate.
Yeah. Not a fan of the Utah Hockey Club for picking TJ Ginla, which we'll get into a little bit of a draft analysis. I know some other people have been watching these prospects all year and grading every team. We're going to just kind of go over winners and losers of the draft that stood out the most. But yeah, it's pretty cool to give Nux to Ryan Smith. I mean, this guy is a very successful man in sports, and no one was really noticing him. That was one thing that I was surprised about. No one was noticing him, and I'm like, that's fucking Ryan Smith. That's the owner of the Jazz.
I didn't even know when you
Utah Hockey Club.
You gave him
like, yo, Brian, and he was a little bit surprised, and he did it. I mean, he's a dope dude. Like, I feel like he's that type of dude that's gonna give you Nux.
Yeah, I think also with him, a little quick tangent, but I think he's doing a good. You can tell he's trying to grow the game of hockey, especially for his team. But I know I've seen him on like Pat McAfee and stuff talking about the Utah Hockey Club and stuff like that. And I think he's a cool guy overall. He owns the Jazz, and I didn't know also the soccer team in Salt Lake, whatever that's called, soccer SC or I don't know. So yeah, he's a very rich man that Galli gave Nux to. So pretty cool guy. But yeah, in terms of like fans there, we saw a lot of Sharks fans, as to be expected with the number 1 overall pick. That's how it was last year in Nashville. A lot of Blackhawk fans around, but also still a lot of Blackhawk fans there. I feel like those fools travel everywhere for that team.
Yeah.
And all over. I mean, a lot of Vegas fans. Which I didn't even realize.
Too.
A lot of Canadians fans. Yep. And I think Galli before the draft was like, who do you think is going to get the most boos or cheers? I didn't think Vegas was. He was saying the Knights were going to, and I just didn't put it together.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of the people there just weren't wearing their Knights jerseys or something because that place erupted for the Knights when they had their pick. So that was cool to see. The Sharks got a lot of boos, which was understandable. I mean, I feel like everyone got
Yeah.
booed
The
except for
Flames
the
were
Knights.
silent, honestly.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad.
I
Yeah.
did see, which I didn't really hear it, but at least on the broadcast, people were saying the Oilers suck when they were picking, I think,
Oh,
31st
yeah.
and 32nd, which
I
that
think
makes
we had
my heart
left.
happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we left around like the 30th
Yeah.
pick. I mean, we were there for like, I think the first round was like 4 hours or
It was
something
4
like that.
hours.
I mean,
We were there
shout
for
out the
4
people that
hours.
stay there 2 through 7. I don't know if I could
Yeah.
do that. But yeah, man. I mean, let's just get into the analysis of both the
Yep.
winners and losers. I know you probably are
Yeah,
gonna
let's kick
love
it
to
off.
talk about that first one.
I got this.
For
All right.
San Jose.
Yeah, we'll give you. Yeah. I mean, I think both our teams are big deserved winners this year. Obviously, the Sharks celebrating big dub right there.
Yeah.
But I think where the rest of it comes in is a lot of the other prospects they were able to snag. Sam Dickinson at the 11 spot. Was it 11? Yeah, 11 spot was super big. I didn't think he was going to fall that far. I thought we were going to pick Zeev William. I was kind of hoping for him. And when they called Sam Dickinson out, I was kind of shocked that he was still available, or at least I forgot he was still available. I don't think he's going to be playing the NHL next year. I think he's got another AHL year, maybe another. I think he has to go back to the Canadian League actually to go.
Yeah, he's going to play in the CHL again.
Yeah, because unless he plays in the NHL, yeah, his rules. So it'll be some time before he steps on up, but yeah, I mean,
it's a steal, honestly. At number 11. I mean, I feel like a lot of people had him going in the top 10.
Yep.
I wasn't like the most stoked on him going into the draft, but I mean, to get him at number 11, that's a dub for the Sharks, and I feel like he's not really going to be someone that's going to be a superstar, but he's going to be a solid defenseman.
Yep.
He looks all around good. You know, he doesn't look too offensive, which I feel like there's so many offensive defensemen.
Yeah, that is true.
But yeah, Sharks had an excellent draft though.
Yeah, and even in the second round, first pick, I still don't know how to say his name, but Shereznov or whatever. He was another first round projected guy, and he fell all the way down to the second round. So we were able to snag him up. We got a couple goalies too, which were nice to see. Deep down, I haven't looked too far into it as of yet. But I mean, notably, I mean, I think Will Smith and both Macklin Celebrini signing their entry-level contract this week or this last couple months, I guess. Super excited. I think the Sharks are going to finish bottom 5 again, but I think it'll be entertaining to watch this year. Last year was very hard to watch that team, so I didn't watch very many games. But this year will be fun, actually. You know, we have some fun guys to watch this upcoming season. Even some guys from last year's draft coming up. We'll see. But I thought overall, like, our draft was really solid. You know, getting the first overall pick, obviously you're going to have a pretty good draft, but to retool and thankfully getting rid of Erik Karlsson paid off. Penguins sucked, and we got pick 11 and Sam Dickinson out of it. So we didn't really lose a whole lot on that Karlsson trade.
Yeah, that's true. It's a good point, though.
Yeah. So it paid off. And I think next year we'll have another one from the Devils in that Timo Meier trade. So should be another good year. Good draft year next year too. Way too early. We're not going to talk about the prospects next year, but let's hear about Calgary.
Oh, let's just start this off. Zane Parekh,
Mm-hmm.
You are going to be a Norris winner. You are fucking incredible.
Yeah.
At hockey. I'm so stoked we got this guy at 9. I mean, I saw a lot of mock drafts. This guy was going top 5. I mean, in my opinion, I think he's the best offensive defenseman in this whole draft. I think he has a lot of room to grow defensively. But I mean, as an 18-year-old, winning the CHL Defenseman of the Year, you know, I think he had 33 goals this year, 96 points as a defenseman. I mean, this guy is incredible out there. I know he broke the record for a 16-year-old in the CHL for defensemen in goals.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, this guy's proven he's going to be a stud. He also signed at ELC. So, I'm going to be curious to see if he makes Calgary's opening night roster. If he has a good opening camp, I think all the
Preseason,
way.
yeah.
So we'll definitely see Parekh in the NHL soon, and
Yeah.
I know Calgary fans are stoked on him. He really gives me shades of like Quinn Hughes, Roman Yossi type vibe. So I'm stoked on Zane. Matvey Gridden. I think this guy is also. I know there's been some rumors about him. He was originally committed to University of Michigan, and he couldn't make it because he had bad grades. I know that was released like a few days after the draft. Supposedly he shot that down, and it was just rumors. But he did get drafted number 1 in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League for their import draft. Last year he was the USHL point leader, so I think this guy's solid. He's a center, and I think the Flames definitely need some more center depth. I think he's at least a couple of years out from the NHL, but this guy could turn into something really, really good. If he has a good year next year in the queue, I mean, be careful. This guy could crack the NHL even the next year. Andrew Basha, I'm really stoked we got him. I saw some first round projections for him. We got him in the second. Also a Calgary kid. The Flames stayed on their path of drafting Canadians and Calgary kids. I think we're scarred from drafting Americans, honestly. Henry Muse, another great D-man out of the OHL. And then the biggest steal, I think, of the draft was getting Luke Misa at 150th overall, which I know a lot of people know about his younger brother, but this guy is 18 and he scored 85 points in the OHL. He was projected second round, third round by a lot of people, and the fact that we got him in the 5th round, I mean, damn. And I just feel like that's going to put fuel to his fire. It'd be awesome if we get his little brother next year. But yeah, man, I feel like the Flames are going to be an entertaining team to watch. I don't know about this year, but we'll see how many of these guys can crack the NHL roster. But I'm so stoked on their draft this year, and I'd give it an A or A+ to both San Jose and Calgary. I mean, excellent.
No, I would too. I think I think Calgary as a whole. That's funny that you say they didn't draft any American players, which also I think. What was it? Top 10, no American player got drafted, which I think is a first in a while. USA's pumped out some pretty good prospects in the past, past couple seasons.
No, definitely.
But yeah, next team though, Big A is to Chicago.
Yeah,
Levshunov at 2 was, I think, expected by most. We had thought, I think you kind of got to roll the. You got to roll the dice a little bit with Demidov, I think, especially with Chicago, but also maybe not. I mean, I don't know the need to roll the dice. They've got Connor Bedard, and they're not going to be any better next year, so it's not like they're going to miss out on anything. I think Demidov's going to be a great player, but again, it's a risky move, and I get why they're going to want a solid defender like Levshunov, who also signed an ELC.
I think he's going to make the opening night roster for the Blackhawks. I think he's going to be their like centerpiece as a defenseman, kind of their next Brent Seabrook or next Hjalmarsson. I think that was an excellent pick. Honestly, kind of hitting myself on the head for not picking him in my mock draft, but I mean, they also got.
I have a funny story about Levshunov. So on Thursday night before the draft, Galli and myself, we were at, what was it called? Cabo Wabo. Sammy Hagar, lead singer Led Zeppelin, lead singer of Van Halen. Sorry. His restaurant in Vegas. We're leaving. We had a pitcher of margaritas that were very strong, very, very, very strong. I've had pitchers of margaritas before and felt fine after, and I was not feeling fine. And we're walking across the strip, and I see this guy. He's pretty young. He's got not a bald head, but a shaved head, like buzz cut. And I see a Bauer shirt on, and I was like, "Is that Levshunov?" And I look over. Galli didn't see this, by the way. I was literally behind the pack, just stumbling, and I was like, "Levshunov," and he turns around, looks at me like I had 5 heads, and I was like, "You're Artem Levshunov." And he was like, and I was like, "Good luck tomorrow, sir. Good luck." And he's like, "Thank you." I shook his hand, went on his way. But it was funny. I was shocked. I just saw him randomly on the strip. It wasn't a bar, anything like that. It was literally just us walking the strip. I saw his Bauer shirt, and I was like, "What?" So, yeah,
Yeah,
that was funny.
he's
And
gonna be
then he goes
solid,
too.
and
Yeah,
yeah, and I feel like they also got good picks in Sasha, Boyver, and
yeah,
Vanaker. They had 3 picks in the first round, so I think at least Levshinov's going to work out for them. But
yeah,
I think one of 2 of those, or maybe both of Vanaker and
yeah,
Boyver, whatever you say.
yeah.
But yeah, Chicago had a good draft. I also think Montreal had a really good draft just because they got
Yes.
Demidov.
Yep.
I think they missed out on Michkov, and that was stinging a little bit. So I think they rolled the dice and went with a
Yeah.
Russian this time. Um, I think
And he
that
was a
these
steal at 5.
yeah, definitely a steal at 5, and I think he's going to turn out to be something really good for the Canadians whenever he does come over.
Yeah.
I've heard might be a same situation to Michkov. Might not be this year, but maybe next year. Michael Hage is also good, and they also drafted Koivu's son, Mikko
Yeah, I saw that.
Koivu. So
That's cool.
that'll be pretty cool. Um, this is something that I'm upset about, but Utah, I think, had a really good draft too.
Yeah.
The fact that they got TJ Ginla, I think TJ Ginla is going to be very similar to his dad in the NHL.
Yeah.
He's going to be, I don't know if you'd call him the cornerstone of the ex Coyotes. I don't even want to call them the hockey club. Like, I want to call them Coyotes because they have
Just call
all
him
the
Utah.
Coyote
Yeah.
players.
No, that's true. Yeah.
But I feel like a Ginla is going to be really good. I also think Boywin, I don't know how to say his name, but he's a good center too.
Yeah.
So I think that's a very good draft on their side. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Montreal or Utah?
Yeah. Montreal, I mean, I think they're in a good spot. I think that's the final piece of their rebuild.
Yeah,
It's been a long rebuild for them, it seems like, because they just can't get out of the top 10, drafting at the top 10. And I mean, I think next year, I mean, he's not going to come over, so I don't know that they're going to get out of that lottery spot, but I don't think they're going to be as low as they have been the last couple of years. They signed, what's his name? Long last name, dude. I'm blanking on it right now. But yeah, I think it's honestly a good draft for Montreal. I think it completes the rebuild for them. Utah, honestly, great first pick. TJ Ginla. I know Galli was really upset, but at the same time, like, I think we kind of saw this coming. Like, he had gained a lot of hype the last couple months before leading up to the draft, especially in the
Yeah,
combine. I think he had a really good combine that really opened some eyes.
good interviews too.
Yeah. And to be the first pick of the Utah Hockey Club is kind of cool. But I mean, Utah is going to be nasty. I mean, they've got Clayton Keller already, who's their cornerstone, I would say. Also got Logan Cooley, who's their rookie last year. Who else? I mean, they still have a bunch. They have a good deep prospect pool. I don't know that TJ is going to play opening night. Not sure. I don't know if he signed his ELC yet, but yeah, overall, I think those are 2 great clubs that drafted really well. I also put on here Minnesota as well. Getting Zeev Buium at 12, I think, is a steal. They traded up 1 spot to snag him too. But Minnesota is in a weird spot where they have a solid team. They're just like missing these little pieces, and Zeev fell pretty hard. I thought he was going to fall to the Sharks. But then we got Dickinson, so Minnesota snagged him up. But the New York Islanders, I think, have one of the craziest first round steals in Cole Eiserman. I did not think he was going to drop that far. He dropped all the way down to what, 19? I want to say.
And
Islanders?
also, like, honorable mention to the Knights getting Connolly
Trevor
too.
Connolly,
I think that's also another steal of that first round and draft in general. But yeah, I mean, I think Minnesota, New York, and Vegas, I think they got some very good picks where people didn't project these players to be. But yeah, let's get into the losers. I know I kind of teased one of them, but the Anaheim Ducks. What the hell is going on here? You got they drafted Bennett Snecki, number 3, and he's signed as well. I don't really know how I feel about this. I think Bennett Snecki is I don't know if I'm saying his fucking name right, but
I think so.
Sinek, whatever. I mean, very, very good guy. I mean, he looks like a great player, personality-wise, and he's proven too. But to reach him at number 3, I think that's a little bit questionable. I think they could have drafted down or, possibly even traded their late round pick and an
That's
asset to
true.
get him.
Yeah.
I mean, and I also think that Anaheim's lacking on the D end. I think they should have drafted a defenseman. I mean, at number 3, they could have drafted Zane Parekh, for Christ's sakes. I mean, they
Yeah.
could have drafted Zeev. They could have drafted Sam Dickinson, Silyev even too. And shit,
Yeah.
I think Silyev dropped too. Um,
Yeah.
I
I
want to
forget where
say
he
to
went.
pass a top 10. I think he
Yeah.
was like 13th or something. But I don't know. What do you think about the Ducks?
Yeah. I mean, I saw afterwards, I was scrolling through Twitter, and the guy who runs Elite Prospects, the guy who's like the head scout for them, called Bennett getting picked at 3. Bennett
Interesting.
Snecke. So I'm sure he knows some things that we don't. He probably talks to many insiders. But I mean, I honestly did not expect that at all. And the whole crowd did either, because everyone in that
Yeah,
sphere was like, whoa, like just shocked. And so was
that
he.
was a
I know all of you guys have seen that video by now of him just in complete utter shock. Anaheim's in a weird spot too. They have a lot of these players that, I mean, I feel like their team and their rebuild is not done yet, but it's close. And man, I mean, they've got, like you said, defensemen. I mean, I hear they got Jamie. No, they got rid of Jamie Drysdale, didn't
yeah.
they?
I know they
They
got
did.
rid of their like best defensive prospects. So like,
Yeah.
what are they doing drafting
Yeah.
a right winger that's projected 15 plus?
They got to know something that
Um,
we don't.
I mean,
But
they know
if he doesn't turn
something
out,
for sure. But yeah, if he doesn't turn out, that's probably going to be one of the biggest draft flops
oh yeah,
this draft, at least. I don't know
yeah,
ever, but I think
no,
he's going to do good. I just don't know. I mean, I just feel like there's better players that are more NHL ready,
yeah,
or more potential in them, than him. But yeah, they obviously know something that we don't, and I mean, I feel like we saw this last year with Leo Carlson. I think people were pretty shocked when they picked Leo Carlson at number 2,
yeah,
which he turned
yeah,
out for them. So
yeah. He has.
I
Yeah,
mean, the Ducks, I think they draft well, and honestly, I'm still a little bit shocked that they did that. And another team that I'm shocked about is Ottawa. I mean, Carter Yamchuk or Yakimchuk. I think I'm butchering that name. Freaking hard names in this draft.
yeah.
I mean, to draft him number 8, or right, was it number 8 or number 7? I think it was number 8.
8. I think 7 was Seattle.
Yeah, or no, it was
Maybe.
number 7
Was
because
it?
Seattle was before Calgary. Yeah, they
Oh,
drafted
that's right.
number
Yeah,
7.
7.
All right,
Wow.
7th,
Yeah,
and they passed over Berkeley Catton, they passed over Parekh, Boyum, and Silyev. I mean, they must know something, but also classic Senators for them to
yeah,
draft this player, and he doesn't really turn out to be anything. But I think Yakimchuk is a good player. I just feel like some of the defensemen, some of the prospects ahead of them, way better, way
yeah.
better. Even
Well, that's what.
Berkeley Catton. I think if that
Yeah.
wouldn't be a reach for them if they
No.
picked Berkeley Catton, which we totally underestimated how good
Yeah.
this guy's going to be too.
Yeah.
Just by
Yeah.
the way.
I think also, I mean, the Senators, I talked about this in a lot of these teams, I think could have, even the Ducks, like they're pretty close to being done with their rebuild, or at least just becoming competitive, especially the Ottawa Senators. Like you guys should not have been finished that low. And you could have picked Berkeley Catton and retooled him for an NHL ready player from a team that's maybe trying to rebuild, to try to help out this Senators team that I don't even know what the problem is, because on paper they look good, but they just couldn't do anything last year. And to do that, like, I don't know. Again, like there's got to be, these scouts watch these players all year, so there's something that they know. But as a fan, I don't know. It's just wild.
As a
Wild.
fan, it's classic Senators move. Like
Yeah.
I just see them, either them or the Ducks are going to have, I think either of those teams they're going to have a bad draft from this draft.
Yeah.
And one of those two players is going to be the reason why. I also thought the Flyers kind of had a bad draft. They picked Jet Luchenko over William Helenas and Yzerman. I mean, I think Jet Luchenko's good, but I don't think he's better than those three players I just said, especially Helenas. I feel like Helenas, I predicted that he was going to go to the Flyers, and I feel like he matches the Flyers system. They need centers. It's like what do they know? What do they see in this guy? But I don't know. But
It's tough.
any thoughts on the Flyers or
Yeah, I mean, I
any
think
other teams?
it's tough out of that top 10 to really know because,
Yeah,
like I said, a lot of those scouts, I feel like they know what they're doing. They have to know what they're doing. I hope they know what they're doing. To draft some of these guys, especially in those the mid first round, is just so tough. I mean, we see this all the time. Like Pastrnak was drafted at what 20, I think, or he was drafted pretty late. I want to say.
yeah, I think like 25th.
Yeah, compared to who he is, like David Pastrnak. Yeah. So it's just one of those things where, I feel like scouting is so difficult because you're essentially looking into the future and you can't do that. Like, no matter what you do, right? Like any of these, I can sell like knock on wood, but I mean, all these guys, like, you just don't know. So it's a tough job that they do. And we're calling them losers from what we see, but again, we don't know the future, so it's really hard. It's hard to like really say a whole lot about it other than just why, But overall, I think wrapping up on the draft, trying to think of any other crazy picks. Yeah, that Trevor Connolly one I thought was crazy. Obviously he's got some controversy around him, which we won't talk too much about because I don't know the full details and I'm not going to spout something that isn't true. But there's some controversy. You can look it up if you are curious about it.
I will say honorable mention to EJ Emery going to the New York Rangers. I think they got a steal out of him, and I think he's gonna turn into something. I think he's got a lot of development ahead of him, but I think that's a good draft pick by the Rangers, especially because I don't think they're low on D-men right now, but they can definitely wait a few years for a player to develop. So I think that's one of the best later round draft picks.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, the draft was freaking sick. I'm stoked we did that. I want to go again. Hopefully it's not as hot of a place as Vegas. I feel like that was kind of a downside and expensive. Holy shit.
That too.
But yeah, man, still what an experience, and to end it off with Steve Aoki, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, seeing him on Saturday night was cool as well. And yeah, so we're gonna let's see. So right after that, we left on Sunday, long drive again, and right
that was
after
June
that,
30th. I think the next day was free agency.
The next day was July 1st, free agency. So we had a whole another crazy day of just hockey again, just hockey all weekend, all week. It's kind of slowed down a little bit now, but let's get into it. Free agency. Some of the first couple picks, we'll kind of blow through some of these and kind of back it up a little bit. But Stamkos and Marchessault both signed with the Preds. Stamkos with a 4x8, Marchessault with a 5x5.5. Marchessault, I feel bad for you, buddy. I feel like he wanted to stay with the Knights. He was a misfit. He was their Conn Smythe winner.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, this is a business, and I think Vegas had done their business with him. I still think it's sad, though. I mean, I think he really wanted to stay. He had said that he wanted to stay. Same with Stamkos, too. I mean, I think Stamkos really loves that Tampa Bay franchise, and we saw it in the playoffs. I remember him looking out on the ice when they got eliminated by the Panthers. He was looking out and could tell he was kind of soaking in. This could be his last moment wearing that jersey. Yeah, that's true. But the Predators,
it's crazy. He finally leaves. I mean, he was freaking cornerstone of that franchise for almost over a decade. I mean, Stamkos. I wouldn't be surprised if they retire his jersey there. Maybe that's a little bit of a stretch. But I mean, he was a captain. I mean, he was the captain there for fucking 10 years at least. I want to say. I mean, Stamkos was. I mean, he saw Tampa Bay go from nothing to a Stanley Cup back-to-back Stanley Cup champions, 3-time Stanley Cup appearances. So, I mean, Stamkos had such a good stint with the Lightning. It's going to be very interesting to see what he does with the Predators. Same with Marchessault too.
Yeah.
I mean, is Marchessault just like special on the nights? I don't think so. And just looking at the freaking Predators, I mean, I think you were going to go into this, but
Yeah.
I mean, their top six is looking dangerous. I mean,
Mhm.
on a left wing, I mean, who knows how they're going to kind of shuffle these? I could definitely see Stamkos playing center because he played that a lot of his career. But I
Yeah.
mean, just top six: Philip Forsberg, Ryan O'Reilly, Gustav Nyquist, who had a great year last year, Marchessault, Stamkos, and Tommy Novak. Can maybe swap that out with Colton Sissons too, but that's a
Yeah.
really dangerous top six. And then you got Roman Yossi in the back, UC Saros, goaltending,
Ekholm? No? Ekholm still?
Ekholm.
No. Is he? Or is he on the
No, he's on the Oilers, I
Oilers now?
think.
Yeah, yeah. That's right.
Yeah,
Who'd they get? Oh, they got
but
Ty Berry.
they,
But yeah.
yeah, and they also signed Brady J. Fuck, how am I saying? I don't know.
Who?
How am I blanking on his name?
Ooh, I don't know. Brady SKJEI. You can, if you guys know, let us know how you
He's
say
played
it.
for the Rangers and the Hurricanes, but I mean, he's a pretty solid defenseman. I just feel like kind of an overpay, $7 million a year for a player
Yeah.
that's getting
I feel like
maybe
that's
around
getting the
40
norm
minutes.
for
But he's a
defensemen.
very good
Yeah.
defenseman defensively. But yeah, man, watch out for the freaking Predators. I know they had a really good last half of their year. I think it's going to be a very good team next year. So watch out for them. I think they're in a win now stage too, just
Yeah.
with Yossi kind of getting out of his prime, maybe getting older.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the Predators made the biggest splash possibly I've ever seen out of one team in free
Yeah.
agency on one day.
One
Too.
day, yeah.
This is
Also,
a
there was
crazy first
over
day.
a
Yeah.
billion, 1 billion, I want to say $1 billion of salary money given out
Jeez.
on the
That's
1st of
crazy.
July, which is a record for the NHL. So just crazy, crazy day of free agency. But we got more. Jake Gensel
Oh, yeah.
then goes to Tampa Bay Lightning. I think a big reason why they got rid of Stamkos or couldn't fit him is because they needed that room for Jake Gensel. I feel like that's a solid signing. Sucks for Carolina. They lost him in that trade. Didn't get anything for him, but obviously they were in a push for the playoffs, so they kind of had to make that gamble.
Yeah. And I think that improves Tampa's top six for the future. I mean, having Gensel, Point, and Kucherov as your first line that's dangerous. And then you got Cirelli on that second line with Cam Atkinson too, who also signed with the Lightning at a $900K deal. Holy shit! But yeah, very very solid signings by the Lightning. I think they pivoted right, and they're not like jumping into a rebuild or anything. I think the Lightning can still do some work. They still got Hedman who re-signed. They still got Vasilevsky. So
yeah, I agree. Another one to the Bruins. I think the Bruins made a decent splash here. They got Elias Lindholm, who I think is a solid pickup for them. I think they needed help down the middle, especially after losing Bergeron this last year. And I think he's a good addition there. Like you said, I mean, I remember you saying in the beginning when this trade happened for the Canucks, I remember you were talking about how we'll see how this ends for the Canucks, if they can keep him or not, and they didn't. So I think Calgary won that trade.
Flames stomped them on that trade. We got Hunter Brusewicz and Matt Gruden out of that.
Yeah.
And Lindholm didn't even I mean, he was okay in the playoffs, but didn't do too much. So
and then they also got Zadorov, correct?
Yes, they did get Zadorov, who famously said, "Don't call me Big Z anymore," because that's his nickname. So obviously Zdeno Chara's got that. What's interesting to me, two signings that stick out to me is the Blackhawks. They signed Tyler Bertuzzi and Teuvo Teravainen. Teravainen's making a return back to the Hawks. I think he started out his career there. Decently priced offers. I know Bertuzzi was a 4 by $5.5 million, and then Teravainen was a 3 by $5.4 million. But I think those are two players that make your forward group immediately better, and you give players that are around them very good players to work with. I think Bedard's going to have a lot more players to tool with. I also think Taylor Hall is going to benefit from this, and I think it's going to be a lot different looking of a team than last year. I mean, I don't necessarily see them being anything close to contender. I mean, they also picked up TJ Brody, who's an excellent defenseman.
Yeah. And Pat
Who's a
Maroon too.
veteran, and Pat Maroon. So I mean, I feel like you could maybe consider them a bubble team if Bedard really shows out next year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and shit, you forgot about Levchinov too. I mean,
Yeah.
Seth Jones. I
That's
mean,
true.
I mean, this team is kind of shaping up to be something. I think they still have goaltending to figure out, but yeah, I think those two signings are pretty good. What do you think about those?
Yeah, I
The
mean, I think the
Hawks.
Blackhawks have been doing well to kind of tool around Bedard or at least get him some protection, especially Pat Maroon. I think we saw there wasn't really much protection, especially when Corey Perry got traded. Not that Corey Perry would really do anything nowadays like he used to, but I feel like Pat Maroon's a good big guy, big defensive guy to kind of step up for Bedard in cases that are needed. Tyler Bertuzzi, I think, is a great signing. I love him as a player. I think he's a heart and soul guy that every team needs. So I think that's a great one for them, honestly. But moving on to the Kraken, they got Brandon Montour for 7x7, which Brandon Montour, loved watching him on the Panthers. He was super fun to watch. Sad to see him go from them. I think he was very much a part of that championship roster. But he's got to get paid. And he got paid out in Seattle. Seattle signed Chandler Stevenson from the Knights.
Yep.
Who was a pretty big piece of their championship roster as well. So, I mean, I think the Kraken did pretty well with those two signings. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the Kraken definitely improved with those signings. Definitely gave them more depth. I mean, just looking at their four lines, I mean, you got solid players all around. You also got Shane Wright, which could turn into something maybe one day.
Yeah.
But I mean, their defense looks really strong. Vince Dunn, Adam Larson, Jamie Olesiak, and Brandon Montour. I mean, that's their top four. Dude, I swear to God, like when we film, I like forget how to say everyone's names. But and then you got Philip Grubauer in the back. So
yeah,
I mean, not the strongest, but I think they're getting there. I think Beignets probably needs another year.
I think
like
that Montour
Shane Wright,
huge.
maybe. Yeah, but that Montour signing, yeah, I think that's going to make them a lot better. And I just see them being a team next year, like smash the under. Like I feel like this team is going to be really good defensively. I mean, even their forwards, there's a lot of defensive forwards. I mean, you got Beignets is pretty defensive. Stevenson's defensive. Borgstrand's defensive. Even Jared McCann. So, I feel like they're going to be hard to score against next year, especially with that top four. But speaking of defensemen, Chris Tanev signed with the Leafs, 6 by $4.5 million, which is a steal. I don't know if it's a steal because he's 34 years old, no move contract clause too. Yeah, and they're signing him until he's 40 years old. Which, I mean, you said it earlier. Defensemen are kind of going at a premium right now.
Yeah.
This is a classic Brad Treliving signing. Not gonna lie, who kind of ruined the Flames, but. Yeah, I think it's a good signing for the Leafs. I think they need some grit like him, and holy shit, he had a good playoffs with the Stars, and he's always just like one of the grittiest players in the NHL. And I mean, is this what's going to make the Leafs go over the hump? Who knows? But
there's always something. Every year they have. I mean, they lost Bertuzzi, who I thought was a good ad for them.
Yeah, for real.
But I don't know with the Leafs. We'll see. It's hard. Like they're literally the Cowboys in the NHL.
Yeah,
they always have their year and then have a great regular season and then just shit the bed in the playoffs. So I don't know. Honestly, I really can't say much about this until we see playoff time. But after that, the Sharks, we got Tyler Toffoli on 4 years at $6 million. I think this is a perfect contract and a perfect guy that we need for this team.
Yeah.
He's a champion. He's a Stanley Cup champion. He's 32. So by the time the contract's up, he's not going to be worth that. But I think for where we're at right now, I mean, 4 years puts us at the right after Will Smith and Celebrini will need to be re-signed. So I think it's a good length. I think he's going to be a good part of that team to kind of help these guys move forward in their progression and get better.
He is going to be a good mentor, and I think he was looking for that longer term deal. so he's not bouncing around so many teams. He's bounced
That
around
too.
a lot of different
Yeah.
teams in the past like 4 years. So
Oh, he has. Yeah.
he'll probably stay with the Sharks for a little bit. Hopefully, he's going to be a mentor and whatnot.
Yeah.
Also, Monahan to the Blue Jackets. I love Sean Monahan. I feel like I got a poster of him somewhere behind me. Dope dude. I loved when he played with the Flames, but he's going to be reunited with Johnny Gaudreau. Is this the emergence of the Blue Jackets? I feel like the Blue Jackets are going to have a better year next year. They were absolutely dog shit this past year. But that's a pretty impressive signing. And then I will say Jeff Skinner to the Oilers. I think Jeff Skinner's going to hit 40 goals next year. That's my prediction. I think he's going to
score a lot. Yep.
Fucking ridiculous. I mean, I think he's
put him on a line with McDavid.
Yeah, him with McDavid or Draisaitl. Shit, dude. So not really stoked to see that as a Flames fan. And then I know there's a lot of free agent signings. We're just kind of highlighting the top ones.
Yeah.
Tarasenko to the Wings.
Yes.
I think that will be a decent signing. I think he's not really working as a bottom six role anymore. I think he'll probably slot in second or third line.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's a pretty good signing for the Wings because they also got Patrick Kane, and we'll just jump right into the re-signings. They got Patrick Kane. I know we've talked about him in the past, Matvei Michkov.
Yep.
He's going to have a really good year next year. Signed his ELC. I can see him being on the Flyers opening night. Two key parts of the Panthers Stanley Cup win. Reinhart signed an 8 by $8.625 million, and Anton Lundell, which I think is a steal, signed a 6 by $5 million. Yeah. I think Lundell's 22, so
yeah, he's pretty young.
He could really turn into something for them. And then my boy Igor. I haven't talked about the Flames yet in free agency. Igor Sharangovich, the Lego man. Get this guy some Legos. This guy's freaking savage. I'm so stoked we re-signed him for 5 years. 5 by $5.75 million. Watch out. He's going to score 35 goals plus next year. He is incredible. He had a great season this past year. And shit, Flames won that trade. So, I mean, Craig Conroy kind of knows what's going on. He's been winning a lot of trades lately. I know there's some questionable things he did. Giving up Markstrom especially for what we did. But I mean, anything to say about those re-signings though?
Yeah, I mean, I think Sam Reinhart's a big one for the Panthers. I was kind of nervous to see if he was going to leave or not. But to stay with him, I think they had to pay that price and had to get rid of Brandon Montour. But Sam Reinhart, I mean, he had an incredible season. Let's just hope it wasn't a contract year motivation thing. But I don't think, I mean, Sam Reinhart was picked second overall by the Sabres. Like, he was a high draft pick, and not that he's had a bad career, but he's had a rough start, especially in Buffalo. It's a hard state to start at, but he's got his cup now. He had a great season. And I think he's going to be a good part of that core of the Panthers, and Tkachuk, Barkov, and now him as well.
They're going to be a hard team to knock out of the playoffs.
I agree. I mean, I think Brandon Montour though was a big hit. And I love Bob, but I don't know how many years he can do this and be great. Maybe he could.
I feel like Forsling, they went Forsling to jump into Montour's spot, more or less.
That is true. Yeah, Gustav Forsling had a great playoffs too. The Panthers also have Spencer Knight, who's going to be a pretty good goalie in the future. So they might not, hurt too bad if Bob decides to call it quits here soon. But the guy, I mean, Bob's 37 and had a great season, which blew my mind. But one last thing before we wrap it up, I want to talk about this next year's Calder race. We'll probably do, in the next couple months, we'll be doing some same thing we did beginning of this season, just kind of, predicting. But the Calder race for this year, I'm going to try to spit this off at the top of my head. All possible candidates we've got this year. Okay, we've got Matvei Michkov. We've got Macklin Celebrini, Cutter Gauthier, Will Smith, Shane Wright. Now I'm blanking. Do you know anyone else that we could? Dustin Wolf?
I think.
I don't know if
I think Shane Wright might be out of eligibility.
Are you sure? Has he played enough games?
I don't think he has actually.
I don't even know if he's really played up yet.
But yeah, I mean, you got also Cutter Gauthier, Logan Stankoven. I
Yep.
mean, yeah, shit, fucking Dustin Wolf is still eligible. Lane Hudson is another one
Lane
people
Hudson,
have been
yeah,
talking
he was
about.
another one I was thinking about.
But right now, just looking on the DraftKings odds, Matvey Michkov is the favorite. And wow, we called it like a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Just about the rumors and, you know, obviously not called it. I think Will Smith, Stankoven, Gauthier, Celebrini, Michkov, even Lane Hudson and Wolf are some players that could sneak in and win that. So it's going to be a fun race to watch. I don't think there's really a favorite like Bedard was last year.
Yeah.
So I'm really stoked for it.
Yeah. No, I think it'll be this upcoming season is going to be a lot of fun. At least for me, I had a pretty rough season last year watching. But speaking of last season and just moving forward into the future, that pretty much wraps it up for today. But upcoming next episode, me and Galli kind of talks, and I think we're gonna do just a recap of this last season. Some funny, like I guess more pop culture moments in our eyes of just like what happened in the NHL, not necessarily like goals, more of like things that happened. Do like a top 5 for each of us on like just crazy because so much drama happened last year. You know, we had the whole Cutter Gauthier thing. That thing was crazy.
Whole Bedard thing.
Bedard's mom, which wasn't true. We know that now. But that being a thing in of itself was crazy. So much stuff. So we're gonna kind of recap, not next week, but 2 weeks from now. We'll do that and then hopefully jump into some interviews. And then as the season, off season kind of progresses, I mean, I'm sure we'll still have some trades or some news to talk about here and there. But then leading up to the season, we'll probably go once we come back weekly, we'll be doing some like division, what's it called? Like division
predictions. Yeah. We'll do some predictions next season.
Previews. Yeah. Looking at like
predictions.
Pacific Division.
We'll be getting right into it like 2 months, which is crazy to think about.
So it'll be a little bit slow the next couple months, but I mean, I feel like once September hits, we're going to be hit the floor running again. But in between then, we're doing some interviews. So stuff like that to bring you guys some more content. But as a whole, it's just for settle down as a whole too. We're trying to kind of cut back on exactly what we're doing, especially with, the off season, it's slow. So we're going to be, reassessing some things and coming back next season even stronger. So, I mean, this is the first episode of the 2025 season. And wow, just crazy. I'm excited for next year though. Excited to see how everything turns out. We had a great season last year, very blessed. And can only hope that next year's better. So we shall see. But Galli, do you have anything else before we send it off?
Thank you to all of our, I know we're under 600 followers. Thank you to all of our under, 600 first followers or so.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys for being around with us for this first season. And, we've progressed a lot as a podcast and we're going to get even better next year. And, hopefully we are going to reach our goals next year and get some better content to you guys. I know we have some really exciting interviews coming up and, we might be adding an intern or something like that next year to help us out with all sorts of content. So we're pretty stoked on, we're pretty stoked on all of this. And, we don't get paid for any of this. So, we're really stoked on just coming on here, talking bullshit hockey. And I know we're not maybe the most knowledgeable sometimes or insightful, but we have a good time doing it.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Happy that some people are with us along for the ride. So thank you.
No, I appreciate everyone listening. I feel like I've wrapped up this season so many times, but I feel like it's officially closed on the 2024 season. And Galli and I had so much fun this year just doing all this stuff. And excited for the future stuff too. So, but yeah, like you said, honestly, maybe we'll tease this right now if you're listening. And if you want to help us, if you're a listener and you want to help us make content, make clips, get some experience doing that, let us know. You can email us at, you can DM us on Instagram actually at Good Old Hockey Podcast. Go follow us, do it there. be easier. I was going to say email, but we're not in the 1980s anymore. So DM us on Instagram and yeah, also our Patreon. I've plugged it every single episode and I'll continue to plug it. Free jersey giveaway. If you join our Patreon, donate $2 a month. It's a monthly charge to your card. It's $2 a month. You're helping us out. You're helping us provide more content, push out more stuff, make more things. Merch is coming soon. I'm working on that as we speak. It's a thing in the works. It takes time though. And time is money. So if you want to help us out, no stress. If not, Patreon's down below. The free jersey, you have until the first snap of the NFL season to get your free jersey. One winner will be chosen though out of all of our patrons. So it's not a guarantee. It's a giveaway. But you have time. So do it now or do it right before that first snap. But I'm telling you right now, it's a free deal. Like it's up to $150 value of a jersey. You can't complain. It's a free jersey, your choice. If you are a Sharks fan, you want to sell a Brini jersey, go join that Discord. We also actually, I have to shout out. We have a winner of our bracket challenge, which I forgot to talk about. I checked it wrong. It was my mistake. Kevin from San Jose, you're my uncle's friend. Congrats on winning the bracket challenge from us. You'll be getting your money here soon. We need to recuperate from Vegas a little bit, but the money will be coming to you soon. He said that he's going to be buying a Macklin Celebrini jersey with that money. So we're super excited to see that. So yeah, but we've had winners in the past from our giveaways. So go join that Patreon right now if you want to.
Oh yeah.
But if not, thank you guys again. We're here. We're ready to kick off this 2025 season. So we will see you not next Wednesday, but 2 Wednesdays from now. All of our content, by the way, is going to be all bi-weekly. So whether that's any other podcast you guys like listening to, the live shows, those are all going to be bi-weekly. It'll be pretty easy because it'll be every week. Everyone's doing everything. And the week after that, we're all going to take a break, then come back the week after. So once football season starts, we'll be back though, full swing, but take a little break for the month of July and August. So with that though, hope you guys have a great rest of your next 2 weeks and we'll see you guys then. Peace.